What's going on, everybody? My name is Jordan Stupar, and you have made it to episode 2 of the Underdogs Podcast. I am absolutely thrilled that you are here, you're listening, you're present, and I hope that you're enjoying your day as you're listening to this. Whether it's your first time or you're coming back here to episode 2, I just greatly appreciate you listening. And by the way, I would like you to subscribe. I'd like to interact with you. I'd like for you to follow this. So wherever you're watching this, wherever you're listening to this or whatever, drop me a follow, a subscription, whatever, because I don't want you to miss a beat. My intention here is to provide you with boatloads of value. Guys, today I want to talk to you about something that might affect you, and it's called change. We all have changes in our life. And really, at the end of the day, I think a lot of us here in 2020, I'm recording this right now in the middle of September 2020. Obviously, we got an election year. We've got a global pandemic that we're kind of getting over right now. We've kind of got a bunch of different things that are working. And of course, in our own individual lives, there's a lot of changes and a lot of uncertainty and just a lot of things that I'm sure you would like to get past. I know that I am. I can't wait for 2020 to be over. It's been an absolute roller coaster of a year. And just quite frankly, I'm tired of just all the drama and things going on. And I'm sure that you probably feel the same. And if you do, then pay attention, because I'm going to talk to you about how to change your life. But before I talk to you about that and show you how to do it, first, I got to tell you how I changed mine, because that's kind of important. So let me rewind the tapes from September 2020, Jordan Stupar, to 2013. We're talking about 7 years ago. It literally feels like a lifetime ago when I moved from Dallas, Texas, after living there for three and a half years, all the way up to New Jersey for literally a month or so, while I was looking for a place to live in New York City, the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps. And for the record, I would never, ever live there again. But I did live there for 11 months, and this is kind of how it went. I went up to New York City after an 8-year career of knocking doors in Dallas, Texas, Wisconsin, Virginia, different places that I lived. I moved up to New York City for one reason, and it was to be with a girl that I had been off and on with for a long time, and we figured this was going to be our clean slate, our fresh start of moving in together in New York City, and that we were going to make this thing work, and that's the city we were going to fall in love with. And that's where, when I was, I think 25 at the time or so, I felt like, I'm going to make it in New York City and I'm going to do this thing. And the entire time that I'd been in a sales career, or the only way that I'd really made money, was by doing full commission only sales, meaning if you don't sell something, you're not going to get paid. And unfortunately, my girlfriend at the time that I was moving into New York City with, she didn't support the idea of, the instability and the risk that comes along with full commission sales. So she actually sold me on getting a salaried sales position. So I went around, I took a bunch of different interviews, and I ended up finding a job that was going to pay me a $45,000 a year salary with, at the time when they were pitching me on this job, unlimited commission earning potential, which of course I got baited and switched on probably in the second, maybe third week. But at that moment, I had completely ran out of money just from paying tolls down the New Jersey Turnpike, paying tolls at the Verrazano Bridge to get into Brooklyn, paying tolls across all the different bridges into Manhattan, and literally just by tolls, y'all, I was like going broke. It was absolutely nuts. You got to be making just a ridiculous amount of money to have even just a above average, comfortable lifestyle in New York City. But I didn't really know that. They don't teach you that type of stuff in school. You just go to New York City and, like me, you learn the hard way. So I started this sales job. And I was going through a really difficult time with my relationship at the time as well. Not because we were like fighting all the time or had some problems. It's because we agreed that because New York City is so expensive and we were just getting our feet on the ground, that we were both going to try to make equal contributions to bills, to rent, so on and so forth. And I could do an entire podcast just on how hard it is to find an apartment to rent in New York City. It's absolutely crazy. And I literally wouldn't recommend my 2013 to anybody that I know or don't know. And finally, obviously, we moved in. I kind of got this job working. I'm inside sales. I'm working the phones. And I'm going through a really hard time with my girlfriend because she kind of came down with like clinical depression. Like I'm talking about not being able to do anything, not able to go to a job interview, get a job, contribute financially, or do anything. So I'm carrying the full weight of all the financial obligations and responsibilities in the relationship. I'm brand new to New York City. I didn't have any friends there, no family members. She didn't either. So we're just completely isolated. I go to the office. I'm working tirelessly. I come home to a person that's obviously not in a position to be supportive or advocate for me to, go make more money or find additional work or whatever. And so I just was constantly stressed out. And of course, at some point, I would say 4 or 5 months into living in New York City, my girlfriend that I'd moved there for actually was picked up, by family to kind of, get the attention and the treatment that she needed. And I hope, of course, that she's doing very well. But the problem was, of course, that I was left almost basically stranded in New York City. I'm literally spending more money than I'm making. And this uncapped commission plan that I was on ended up switching into a capped $500 per week bonus if you're the top salesperson. And so here is where my life really, really got dark. This was then obviously the worst year of my life because picture this. You're waking up, you have no friends and family in New York City or anywhere around you. You're not making enough money to even network or go get dinner on a Friday night on payday or even be able to afford a beer. Guys, when I tell you that I lived in New York City for 11 months and did not go to one bar, I'm not joking. I couldn't afford a $10 beer. I just could not do it because here's the truth. My rent in New York City was $14.50 per month, which basically got me a little bit of closet space. And legitimately, it was tiny. So I'm just going from my office, spending 10, 12 hours a day there because I needed to be the top salesperson. Of course, I kind of wanted to be the top salesperson, but I needed to be the top salesperson because if I wasn't, I wouldn't earn the $500 bonus at the end of the week. And I needed that $500 bonus in order to just pay my rent and make like my Nissan Maxima payment. And I'm constantly going through, I had Geico, I think, for insurance at the time. And, that would be due. And then I'd have to log into the app and I'd have to delay that payment like 15 days. That was like the maximum you could delay it. And I'm eating, pasta 7 nights a week. I'm eating ramen. I can't even afford to like go home and get like a little family time. I'm just absolutely flat broke. I'm in debt and I'm working tirelessly and not getting anywhere. In fact, I'm going backwards pretty much every single day because my bills were exceeding my income. And so I'm miserable, right? And so everything kind of came to a head probably 6-7 months through New York City. I'm alone. I'm exhausted. I'm broke. I am having literally no fun in my life. My life at the time was, playing Forza on my Xbox at night and, getting high or just getting drunk by myself because I couldn't afford to actually, get drinks with other people. And so I'm just alone trying to escape my own reality with, smoking weed, drinking a lot, whatever. And I'm just miserable. Okay. Just picture that, alone and miserable and broke. And there was, like I mentioned, 6-7 months into this whole New York City thing, I ended up just kind of having that one day where like literally it was Friday, it was payday, and I just went straight to the liquor store, opened the door, went to the lower shelf, grabbed myself the biggest and cheapest bottle of whiskey that I could. Shout out to Evan Williams. I went back to my place in Astoria, Queens, walked up the steps, walked up the stairs, got into my kitchen, which was pretty much located in my bedroom, which was also kind of located right next to my toilet because that's how small the apartment was. Uncapped the bottle of Evan Williams, and literally, I'm pretty certain that within like 2, maybe 3 hours total, I consumed an entire liter of Evan Williams whiskey, which obviously, I passed out, like in bed, clothes on, just done for. And I remember waking up on a Saturday, somewhere, call it fall, maybe early fall, late summer, in New York City. And I remember just waking up with like a New York City nightclub bumping in my head, just a pounding headache, terribly dehydrated, completely hungover, and like literally feeling the worst hangover I've ever had in my entire life. And I would know that because I've never felt as bad as that moment when I woke up on that Saturday morning. And that was the moment that my life changed, because I opened the blinds after grabbing Tylenol, literally, from the nightstand and, trying to cure my hangover. And I opened the blinds, and literally, guys, my view was brick. As most people know in New York City, if you're opening your window, you look out, you're like, oh, cool, another building, because that's New York City. And I remember looking at this other building, like another 6 feet away from me or whatever it is, and I remember having this thought: why am I here? What am I doing? And this wasn't like, a suicidal, like, why am I here? I'm considering like jumping out the window and ending it all. And by the way, if there's anybody out there that is, having struggles or suicidal thoughts, or you're going through a really hard time like that, okay, I'm a huge advocate for you calling somebody else. Shut off this podcast and make the phone call to get a little bit of help, because you obviously need it. So needless to say, I wasn't like suicidal, but I was just having this grand thought looking out the window and just saying, why am I here? Like, why New York City? What am I doing here? I have no friends, no family, no money. My job, I'm the best person at it, but like, I'm not making any money. I'm not enjoying any portion of my life right now. And it's been like this for too long. I am ready to make a change. And that's where, most of us, we look at kind of what we're doing with our time. What am I doing outside of work? How am I spending my time? Maybe I should get rid of my Xbox, or, maybe not that, but maybe I'll cancel my Netflix, subscription, so that, maybe I don't watch any movies. And, maybe instead of, drinking every single night or smoking weed, like maybe I'll go for a run, or, whatever. And what most people get wrong, y'all, is they end up changing one, maybe two things. And they're expecting their life to be changed, but they only end up changing one or two things in their life. Well, it dawned on me in this moment with this pounding New York City nightclub hangover that I was having, that I don't need to just change one or two things in my life. I don't need to just get rid of my Xbox. I don't just need to cancel my Netflix subscription. I don't just need to stop drinking, Monday through Friday, and maybe do it during the weekend sociably or whatever. What I realized is that I needed to change everything in order to change everything in my life. And that realization, guys, I took immediate action on it, and I did not delay. I literally remember this, and I'm sorry for the garbage man or the, fine citizen of New York City that had to pick this up, but I remember literally opening that window. I remember this is like, Hollywood movie worthy. I literally just grabbed the Xbox from like the little TV shelf thing that it was on, just ripped it literally out of the wall, the plugs, everything, the controllers, casually walked to my window and just dropped it right into the back alleyway. And I remember taking all my games, throwing them in the trash. I remember going right online, going to Netflix. I canceled my Netflix subscription. I then ended up pouring out all the remaining alcohol that I still had inside the house. I remember flushing my weed down the toilet. And I remember just like, that all took maybe 5 minutes. And all of these things that I like enjoyed and were like escaping my own reality with no longer existed. I had no Xbox to play. I had no booze to drink. I had no weed to smoke. I had no Netflix to Netflix and chill with. I had nothing to do. And so there I was standing. I just had a couple of bucks still maybe in my bank account from getting paid the last day. And I remember literally scraping together the courage to purchase like running shoes for like $75 down at like one of the stores down there on Ditmars Boulevard. And so I bought some running shoes, and literally it was at that moment, guys, I just started running literally 10, 12 miles every single night after work until I couldn't literally feel my legs anymore, until my shin splints hurt so bad that, I'd literally have to sit for 20 minutes before even walking home. And I just began running. And that's also where, I made the decision, I'm going to get out of New York City. So I'm working as hard as I can. I'm getting a lot of recognition for being the top salesperson, but I'm still not making any more money. I'm just getting the $500 bonuses every single week, in addition to my $45,000 a year salary. And that's where I'm like looking around, like, I got to get out of this city. There's nobody here. I hate it. Like, how on earth am I going to find a girl to date? Like, this is bogus. I'm out of here. So I ended up, while sitting at my office, I'm taking calls, I'm doing my thing. And I remember going on to Twitter, and I remember seeing this guy that I'd been following. I had never, read any of his books or, been to any seminar or done anything except for just look at a couple of tweets from this one person. And this person said, are you ready to change your life? Are you ready to get your dream job? Click this link to apply to be a participant in this reality TV show called Whatever It Takes. And this person that I'm referring to is Grant Cardone. Had never, again, read a book. I didn't really know much about the guy. He just looked like somebody that was successful and had a large Twitter following. So I clicked the link. I shot over, a quick question, and they basically told me to shoot a quick video and, who I am, where I'm coming from, why I want to be on the show, what it means to me, so on and so forth, and submit it to, their producers or whatever. And so I ended up figuring out how to, record a quick video. I think it was 2.5, 3 minutes long, just explaining who I was. Hey, I hate New York City. I'm looking to come down to Miami and try out for this show because I'm ready to change my life, and was just genuine and authentic about it. And the producers shot me back an email, a day or two later saying, hey, congratulations, you're accepted. The caveat is we're not going to pay for any of your, travel expenses. We're not going to pay for your hotel while you're here. This is just you coming here and participating, and hopefully you win. And if you don't, then have a good life. And so I took everything at face value. Then it hit me. Well, I have to go down to Miami and I don't have any money. So, how am I going to get there? Luckily, I had just enough points in my Southwest Airlines, membership program, whatever, to buy a round trip flight from LaGuardia, as they call it in New York City, LaGuardia Airport down to Miami International. And I'd never been down to Miami before. I've been down to Florida a bunch of times, Orlando, Sarasota, Siesta Key, whatever, but I've never been down to Miami. And so, I booked that and I get down there. And I could give you guys literally a whole podcast about just my first, couple of days. And maybe I will tell that story about how I won that reality TV show. But I popped down to Miami. I won the reality TV show, and I didn't even call my work in New York City to let them know I was gone. I just no called, no showed, but I was the top salesperson. So when I got back, they're like, dude, what happened? And I was like, well, I went and got another job. I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And they're like, whoa, bro, anything that we can do to make you stay? And I was like, well, you probably should have considered figuring out, how to ask me that question, a couple of months ago when I told you guys what you could change about the commission plan, because I don't want to be capped out. Anyway, long story short, 2 weeks go by. I do my last couple of days at work over there, and I literally, I remember going down, I think it's the Delaware Bridge. It's like a $43 toll to get out of New York City from this Delaware Bridge. I think that's the name of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I remember putting my middle finger out the window, watching, the New York City skyline just fade and disappear. And I remember feeling absolutely amazing. Not only had I kind of gotten rid of some of my distractions and some of the things that I was using to escape my own reality, I started making real decisions to fix my reality and to fix my life. And so that was big change number one, is, getting rid of Xbox, Netflix, and all those distractions and things. And then two, making the decision to just leave that city, leave where I was at, get on the road and move down to Miami for this mystery sales job. I had no idea who I was really going to be interacting with, what I was going to be selling, what the price points were, how it was going to work. I had no idea. I just won this reality TV show, and so I'm going to cross my fingers and really hope that this opportunity works out for me. So I go down to Miami, and again, there's probably a lot to unpack from, the first couple of months of working for Grant Cardone. There's a lot of unbelievable stories, just like truly incredible things. And I've already passed up a few really, really good ones in the sake of staying on topic. But once I made it to Miami, I was on a $3,000 a month kind of salary for the first 3 months. You're guaranteed to make $3,000 draw your first 3 months. And then after 90 days, you switch to straight up commission. So eat what you kill. This was ideal for me. This is what I wanted. But at the exact same time, Miami is very expensive. I didn't really have any idea what I was selling, how to sell it, what the prices were. I didn't get a list. I didn't have a CRM. I didn't have a dialer. I was literally showed up to work. I got a desk overlooking the ocean. That was pretty cool. And then I got a desk phone that you have to like manually dial. I got a computer with internet access, and I got a legal pad with a piece of paper. And basically, they told me, we don't supply you with leads or service calls or anything like that. You're going to have to figure out who to cold call, and you're going to have to figure out the cold call process, and you're going to have to figure out how to pitch it, and you're going to have to figure out how to close the deal. There are no closers here. There's no people setting appointments for you. You are fully in charge of the sales process from A to Z. And basically, I was terrified. I had just signed an 8-month-long lease in the ghetto in Miami, and that was, I think, $800 a month was my rent. And, I moved in there before I even looked at the place because I was living in New York City, but, this is the only place I could afford. But I wouldn't be able to afford it if I wasn't continuously making sales. So every day, guys, the pressure was on. And naturally, things like playing Xbox, Netflix, naturally, these are, the types of comforts that you kind of want to go home to so that you can, again, escape the reality of that just super high pressure, intense, thing that you're doing, which is, going and starting a new commission thing, sales job. And, I'm just terrified. But the thing that I continued to do was I sustained and maintained the changes I made in New York City. Meaning, I worked like literally 15 hours a day. I literally went to the COO of the office in Miami, and I said, look, I need a key because I need to be the first person in here every single day. And yeah, I'm going to be the last person out, and I'll lock up. So luckily, they gave me a key. They trusted me in the office. I would go in every single day at 7 a.m., and I would just work straight through till 10, sometimes 11 o'clock at night. And, at 11 o'clock at night, I'm on the East Coast. I realized, I'm going to have to start calling Alaska at 10 p.m. And a couple of things here from this story is I didn't really get any deals anywhere in the United States that I was calling on except for Alaska in my first couple of months working at that office because, I'm calling, people in Anchorage 5 hours behind me. They pick up the phone. I get some like 50-year-old like picking up the phone. He's like, what's up? And where are you calling from? I'm like, I'm calling over here from Miami Beach. And they're like, what? Like, what are you doing sitting in South Beach calling Alaska at 11 p.m.? Like, I'll listen to you just out of respect for your hustle. And so I ended up getting a lot of deals in Alaska, and those were the deals that kind of set up my momentum for success at that office, which of course throughout episodes we'll be addressing a bit of that story because obviously that's what everybody wants to know. Jordan, how did you go from making $40,000 a year to $450,000 a year in like a year? Like, how did you do that? Because that type of growth is just like, it's that overnight success. Well, really, it all boiled down to some changes. So guys, my first 17 months in Miami, I didn't go on a date. I didn't open Tinder. I didn't have an eHarmony account or a Match.com account. I didn't kiss a girl. I didn't text message an ex. I literally took any, romantic or sexual attraction to relationships with girls 100% out of the equation because that was another distraction that I had identified that was holding me back from spending the time that I needed to in sales to, become successful. And so for 17 months, guys, I didn't go on a date. I didn't kiss a girl. I didn't do any of that. For 17 months, I didn't own cable or, a TV or anything. So I replaced all of those other things that I would spend my time doing with reading books, with recording myself on calls so that I could listen it back and I could figure out, dude, you're saying way too many times there. And, why do you sound so salesy in this portion? We need to role play that out in the mirror. And I became downright borderline obsessed with just sales and personal development and personal improvement. And it wasn't very long, guys. I'm talking 17 months. My entire life completely changed. I went from being broke and in debt and living in the ghetto to, living on the 45th floor overlooking the ocean with, $100,000 in the bank, literally in one calendar year. In 12 months, I went from being $40,000 in debt, in the ghetto, just life in shambles, to literally 12 months later, $100,009 in the bank, cash after taxes, and no debt, and in control of my life. And that was a result, guys, of of changing everything in my life. That wasn't because, I stopped playing Xbox. It wasn't because, I'm going to play Xbox, but, I'm not going to talk to girls for the next couple of weeks. And guys, there was girls that were interested in me. And I got text messages. I just didn't respond because I knew I wasn't the type of guy that could take them on a date anyway. This is a whole nother podcast topic is relationships and what they can do to you in business and in life. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying, for those of you that are young and broke like I was, maybe it's not the greatest idea to get into a full-fledged relationship. Do you really need a girlfriend? Do you really need somebody to cuddle with? Probably not. You should be busy trying to cuddle with your money and your skill set. So the whole point of this little podcast episode here is to tell you that literally in my own life, I used to be dead ass broke. I used to be completely in debt. I used to not know what I was doing. I used to be absolutely miserable. I'm talking about borderline, depressed. Maybe I was technically depressed. I don't really know the differences between the levels or whatever, and I'm not by any means making fun of that. But I'm borderline, clinically depressed, to literally 17 months later, having 6 figures in the bank, no debt, in control of my life, getting along with coworkers, meeting people, going on some dates, enjoying my life. And it was all, again, a result of making massive changes everywhere in my life. I say this all the time, and I'm going to start ending off on this podcast by saying this. You have to want what you want more than want what you currently have. If you are driving your Nissan Maxima like I was back in the day, I realized I wanted a new Lexus, and then I wanted a Porsche, and I wanted those things more than I wanted to just kind of maintain my life. What you're going for in your life has to be a higher priority than just maintaining what you currently have. Because at the end of the day, and here's the trick, maintaining what you currently have, making Nissan Maxima payments and, paying rent where you currently live or your current mortgage or whatever, or maintaining the same friendships and relationships that you currently have, is going to take the same amount of time, energy, work, and money as getting what you really want. New friends, new networking, new connections, new cars, new houses, the stuff that you actually do want in your life, it takes the same amount of work. So either you're making a decision to maintain, keeping what you already have, or you can make a decision to take that same effort, energy, and attention and shift it to the things that you actually want in your life, which means that you're leaving what you currently have for what you actually want. And I feel like there's way too many people that just don't know that it is the same energy, it's the same effort, it's the same level of attention, but it's just you're refocusing and changing your perspective on where you're placing that energy and that attention. And so for those of you out there that are looking to change your life, you're looking to get to the next level, you're looking to just be happy. Maybe you're miserable, maybe you're depressed, maybe you're, just completely lost in your life. I've been there. You don't need to just change one or two things. You don't need to just, if you're just, I think it's a perfect example of just being, fat or obese or whatever. Maybe you're 400 pounds. Look, that's not a healthy way of living life. If you're tired of being 400 pounds, you don't need to just make some dietary changes, okay? You need to change everything in your life. If you're eating bags of chips, on the couch, watching TV, whatever, you don't need to just stay on the couch, but give up the bag of chips. You need to change what's in your house. You need to change where you're at. You need to change probably the fact that you watch TV at all. And you need to get out and go walking and do things. You need to change everything. And then sooner or later, through a sustained a sustained change, you're going to get the result that you actually want of losing the weight and having a more comfortable and healthy lifestyle. And that applies to everything, guys. And that's why I feel like that was a pretty good example. So with that, I'm winding off. Guys, this is the Underdogs Podcast. And guys, if you're an underdog, and we all are, and you're trying to make changes in your life, there's some of you that are listening to this, sure, go change one or two things about your life because maybe your life is kind of in order. Maybe you're not absolutely depressed. This podcast is for those of you that are starting at the bottom or you're miserable or unhappy. Go change everything, because if you want everything in your life to change, you're going to have to change everything. Guys, thank you so much for listening. This is Jordan Stupar. This is the Underdogs Podcast, episode 2. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. Obviously, my intention with this is to interact and engage with you. So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify or whatever, take a screenshot. Find me on Instagram at Jordan Stupar so that I can interact with you and continue to provide you with value, because after all, that's exactly what I'm here to do. So with that being said, guys, share this with a friend, a colleague, your brother, sister, your dog, I don't really care. And I just want to help spread the word, spread some positivity, and give you guys a real dose of what it's really like to change your life. Because I'm out here doing it, and I'm not Mr. Famous, and that's why I think this podcast is such a great opportunity, because I'm just displaying and being authentic in my own growth. And so I'm just sharing the stories that come along with it. With that, I'm signing off. I hope you guys have a great one. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share this. And I'll see you guys next time on the Underdogs Podcast.